I'm Joe Merritt. I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years, deployed to Afghanistan in support of Iraq.
My name's Alexis. I'm currently in Virginia. I was in the Army. I did HR for 16 years. I retired from Fort Belvoir's WTB after my all-expensive paid trip to Afghanistan. The accommodations did suck.
My name is Vainupo, and I'm a U.S. Army veteran. 5 deployments and a lot of different missions all over the world.
Hi, I'm Belena Marquez. I am in Arizona. I retired from the U.S. Air Force last year as a public affairs officer.
My name's Kim. I'm in Maryland. I was in the Army. I was a military police officer.
My name is Valerie Acosta. I am in Virginia. I am in the Air Force. I've been in for 18 and a half years.
Hi, I'm Ann. I'm in Bethesda, Maryland, and I retired from the Army after 14 years of service. I flew helicopters for 6.5 years and did psychological operations for another 3.
My name is Griff, and I'm in Kentucky. United States Army. I deployed to Afghanistan 3 times. I ended up retiring from the old guard.
I'm Lupita, or Lupe. I live in Westminster, California, and I was in the U.S. Navy.
I was medically retired after 10 years for PTSD. When I went to go get treatment is where I found writing workshops and art programs.
At first, when I started doing the writing workshops at SEMA, I did not want to open up.
I didn't even want to be at the writing class. I was so mad.
I didn't want to write and had no desire to feel anything.
I didn't think I had anything of value to say or write. I didn't think that anything that I would write would matter.
I walked into Seema's room, and she is the weirdest person I've ever met. She had like 4 scarves, baggy clothes. There's paint on most of it. And I'm coming from the old guard where everything is very dress. And here is this hot mess sitting at the head of the table with the biggest, most welcoming, sweetest, warmest smile I've ever seen. Immediately felt comfortable. And then we started writing, and the stuff that poured out of me in those workshops. Yeah.
It was a way for me just to express my grief. I needed to get it out, and I had gone through a lot, and I didn't really want to share with anybody, but I was able to kind of get it out on paper.
You can't always speak about things, but you can write about them. So it gives me a space to kind of process emotions and like do it in more of an indirect route.
It helped a lot more than talking. At the time, I didn't even talk. It was easier to write and talk than it was or write and do art than it was to talk to my therapist.
You don't have to write about what happened, but you can write around it, and you don't have to explain yourself. You don't even have to say it if you don't want to. And that's what I absolutely loved. It was judgment-free, and nobody was criticizing your work. It didn't have to be perfect.
Finding new ways of communicating my experience was life-changing, not only for me, but the people that cared about me.
What I get from these workshops is community, and it's like the most important thing.
What I get from these workshops, I think, is a sense of groundedness, hope, inspiration, and a feeling of not being alone in my circumstances.
You think you're going through all of this stuff all by yourself. But then when you find out other people are going through the, similar things, it kind of feels a little bit easier.
You get a sense of community that you once lost, and be honest, we are the forgotten. People don't always talk about veterans, and if it is, it's always like a really specific group of veterans, right? But everybody else, we just kind of forgotten about.
I felt like I was in this bubble by myself. Like nobody understood, nobody had my story, and through writing and art, I learned that others did share either my story or the feelings that I was feeling.
I never thought I would have like a bigger group. And then it all started with this group, Seaball. And I'm very thankful for that.
My name is Willie Young. First, I want to say that I enjoyed that video very much, that it was a testament to what's going on with these veterans, with these writers, and with the program that is helping them to develop these ideas and develop these thoughts and to put them on a paper and to also help them to transform their lives. I was in a similar situation to the veterans that you saw in the video. At 19 years in the military, I found myself not able to sleep. I found myself replaying things in my mind that had happened in a combat zone. And the only thing I could do to make it stop was to drink alcohol. Drink alcohol and drink more alcohol. That eventually landed me in the hospital. And that eventually landed me in a writing group. Once I got to the writing group, just like you heard a lot of other people say, I thought, what am I doing here? This isn't for me. I have nothing to say. I have no voice. But then Seema, along with other people, helped me to get some thoughts concentrated, to get them on the paper, and then eventually, just like tonight, get in a group and speak those words into reality. It was life-changing for me. It was not only therapeutic, it was also mentally stabilizing for me. It took me from places where I didn't want to be and brought me to places where I did want to be. Tonight, you're going to hear from those veterans that you saw in the video as they go through their individual poetry. Tonight, you're going to hear a little bit more about the program that helped to bring these poets up. And I hope that you enjoy it all. Again, I'm your MC, Willie Young. The first poet that's going to be up will be Valerie Acosta.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Happy Veterans Day. My name is Valerie. So I will read my prompt and then I would like to share one more piece with you. You are not alone. If you looked, you would see that we've come so much further than you ever thought possible. If you listened, you would hear the calm in my voice as I tell you that you deserve empathy and compassion. I'm carrying this weight with you, but know that you are more than capable of carrying it for yourself. You are strong. I am more than you expected, more than you feared, more than you loved. I served because I needed to prove to myself that I could, because they told me I wouldn't make it, because no one expected it. To be an American means not to have to hide in who I think I am. I am an Air Force veteran. And I would like to share a piece of writing that I've carried with me since July of 2017, when I first met Seema in one of my very first writing groups with a prompt that has become one of my favorite. And it seems to bring out very emotional things for me every time. But this is one of the first things I wrote when I met Seema. I know you are writing this poem in a room full of strangers, each with a moving, powerful story, with doubts and faults and strengths not spoken aloud. I know you are writing this poem, hoping it will give you some insight into the connections you have made with yourself, your pain, your time and again fading, flickering light. I know you are writing this poem, wondering where it will lead you. More truth, more lies, more looks from everyone, from no one. I know you are writing this poem and dreaming of another life, a different past, a brand new track, a lesson learned from all you've had, you have done, you have endured, you have not learned. I know you are reading this poem without proof, without something to hold on to let go and trust and know. I know you are writing this poem and you'll dwell on the little things, the details, the structure, the rules, the things that have yet to show you that what you need is not faith, but proof, not trust, but evidence, not love, but presence. All things you've never trusted. Stop writing the same tired poem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Val. It's good to hear from veterans that have been through the program that come back and to help keep the program going. There are always new people coming in, but it's so much brought back when you take a person who's been through the program, like myself, like Val, who comes back into it, that brings their history, that brings the old prompts, that bring their experience to it. And it also creates a honest place. It creates a welcoming and a nurturing environment for the individuals that are new to be able to come in and participate. Our next presenter is going to be Ann Barley.
Okay. You are not alone. If you looked, you would see what you see. If you listened, you would hear what you hear. I am carrying nothing and all that is needed. I am more than all of these things. I served because my life is full of lessons that I couldn't have learned any other way. To be an American means whatever we choose to think it means. This is the privilege and the price of true freedom. I am an Army veteran.
Thank you, Ann. Great example of a piece of work that came straight from the heart. Our next presenter is going to be Belena Marquez.
Okay, Belena's not here, but my name's Kim D. Fiore. I'm supposed to go next, so I'll take it, Willie. I got you. Thanks to all those veterans and all those that support CBAW. Appreciate it. You are not alone. If you looked, you would see the sun creeping in on a foggy day. You can't quite make it out, but you know it's about to warm everything in its way. The sun spreads warmth without judgment or fear. It lights up the world, even the days after the most horrific news. If you listen, you would hear that silence has some of the best advice to offer. Silence is often feared, but it can be the most therapeutic tool. I am carrying too much and need to take a break. I need to offload what isn't mine and continue on my way. I am more than a veteran, a graduate, a gender, or sexuality. I'm a person who can change, evolve, heal, and have something incredibly important to say. I served because I believed in something more than myself. I wanted to fight for freedom and the American way of life. I continue to serve because I believe there's a light in the world that needs to continue to glow. To be an American means to have a chance to be anything. There's always hurdles to get over. Some have more than others, but we all can get to the end. I am an Army veteran. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I got a bad script, folks. They had Belena still on there, and we went straight to Kim. Kim, thank you for that poem. Another theme that you'll see with these poets is about carrying loads and about things being able to be taken out of those loads and weights being able to be lifted. And that's one of the beautiful things about this program and programs like it, is being able to help unpack figuratively and unload and lighten people's lives, to be able to shift someone's view from all the things they're having to carry and all the things that they're having to be burdened with to the future and what they have to look forward to. Coming up next, we have Daniel Griffin.
Thank you, Willie Young. So I talk too much, and I know I do. And I'm still rocking the same journal SEMA gave me since day one. This piece is I'm already getting broke up. Give me a sec. This piece is from about 2010, maybe 2011, when I first met Seema. It's not the first piece I ever wrote with her, but it's the one that I still think back to all the time. I am tired all the time. I sleep and wake up tired. I take pills. I sleep. I wake up tired. I'm tired of death. I am tired of finding out another friend has died, of being an ever-growing living memorial to brothers gone. I'm tired of going to get another name carved into my body. I'm tired. I'm tired of losing another person I couldn't save. I'm tired. I'm tired of nightmares that make me feel small. I'm tired. I'm tired of terror and my trips to the store. I'm tired. I'm tired of forgetting to remember to do that thing that I think I was supposed to do. I'm tired. I'm tired of the finality of my diagnosis that says I will always be broken. I am tired of putting effort into the effortless tasks because if I don't, then I could lose my cool. I'm tired. I'm tired of longing to be understood and knowing that I can't be. I'm tired. I'm tired of the military while fighting back the desire to stay in because it just can't happen. I'm tired. I'm tired of small people playing their small games because they can't be big enough to live larger. I'm tired. I'm always tired. If being tired is a sign of life, does that mean I live more or exhaust myself more? I don't know. All I know is I'm tired. The other piece is actually, one sec. The other piece is actually one of the last pieces I wrote with Seema. And it was about the time I was retired. And there's just a little bit of change. Not following the script here, sorry. I used to believe that I was unaffected by war. I used to believe that every life taken brought me joy. That my life was better when it was just boots and blood, rifles and ricochets. I used to believe I was the best me only in the worst places, that I was the worst me when I was at home. I used to believe I could achieve nothing greater than my first kill or leading men into combat situations. Now I know. Now I know that every kill and every mission took a part of me away, casting it off into space and leaving darkness in its place. Now I know that my life is more brilliant than even I could imagine, and my best days are yet to come. And that's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Griff, thank you for sharing. That's powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. When you look at what the nation charges its veterans to be, like you said, when you go away, they want you tough, they want you strong, they want you to be a warrior. But when you come back, you know, there's a sensitivity, there's just this reality, there's just normalcy that they want to have in us all. Whether you're infantry, whether you're a rifleman, whether you're HR, whether you're a pilot, all these things change for the individual, but stay the same for the group. Those are things that a lot of people have to deal with. And a lot of people, once you go from active duty to being a veteran, have difficulty dealing with. Thank you, Griff. Our next presenter is going to be Alexis Laria.
Hi, good evening. So I have two pieces I would like to share, the You Are Not Alone, and then I had to go through the book to find the second one. So let's give it a try. You are not alone. If you looked, you would see a being who has survived many hidden wars. If you listened, you would hear the growth that's overcome grief. I am carrying my scars as prize medals. I am more than a DD-214, a bumper sticker, a quota. I'm worthy of more. I've served because I wanted to. I love to. To be an American means so many things. It's both an honor and a curse. I am an American Army veteran whose country can't decide if I'm worth equality. You are not alone. My other poem, I believe I wrote over the summer, and I found Seema again because I kind of lost connection, and I wanted to read that one to you. God is in the details, like warm butter poured over popcorn, like bee stings to my upper thigh. God is in the details, like the smell of freshly brewed coffee, like hearing the waves wash against the shore. God is in the details, like tears running down my nose, like the sarcasm that rolls off the tongue, like the nagging dialogue that tells me to check the locks again. It's in the details of the cold chill in the body, frosty fingers of the toes, even in 90-degree weather. God is in the details of the sip of sour milk, the prick from the sewing needle, the cough from inhaling cleaning supplies. God is in the details, like the damn dog that keeps barking, and the feeling of being alone in a full house. He is in the details. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm going to get off the microphone now.
You're welcome, Alexis. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Your piece has touched everyone. It's so amazing, the differences in every artist, the things they focus on, and things that are important to them, and the things that they share, and how it affects everyone. It's an amazing process. Thank you again, Alexis. We're going to go on to Lupita Gutierrez.
Hello. So the first poem I'll be reading is the You Are Not Alone. You are not alone. If you looked, you would see that loving yourself doesn't mean loving someone else any less. If you listen, you would hear people cheering you on. I am carrying the love and knowledge that has been gifted to me. I am more than a military sexual trauma. I served because I wanted to do something great after high school. To be an American means having the right to make choices about my body. I am a United States Navy veteran. The second poem I'm going to read was when I realized that I didn't have a fake smile anymore. And I was like, I'm still here. So it's titled, I'm Still Here. This body has survived abuse from others. This body has survived a rape. This body has survived a suicide attempt. This body has survived alcoholism. This body has survived self-harm. This body has survived weight gain, loss, and gain again. This body has survived self-criticism and hatred. This body has lived through heartache, has pushed through pain, has fallen and stood up again and again, has had the courage to right a wrong, has held its head high in trial. This body has learned self-love. This body with its flaws, with its battle scars, with its luscious curves, has survived and will continue to live. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. The power in your words. I think that survival is a very common theme also. Survival, something that all of us have had to go through. Very powerful. Thank you again. Our next artist is Joe Merritt.
Thanks, Willie. Thanks, everybody who has shared already, and everybody in the audience. I see all the comments in the chat, and it's So one of the things that I've really come to appreciate about doing the online workshops is this like real-time feedback that everybody gives to each other, and the encouragement as people are sharing their truths. Like I said earlier in the introductions, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, combat deployment to Afghanistan. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I had the privilege to come back to Walter Reed and Bethesda and share my experiences and knowledge and all the things that I learned from the art and writing programs. Became a facilitator, and since then helped start CBAW and sit on the board as the vice chair. And I consider it a real honor that everybody continues to support and allows us to do this work so we can reach out to as many people as possible. I'm going to read two poems. The You Are Not Alone prompt that was given for this workshop, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end before we go into our last video. And then another piece following this trend that everybody's doing of reading work that they might have wrote way back when they first came into the programs and first met SEMA. You are not alone. For as long as you choose, if you look, you will see a geography of past strengths. If you listen, you will hear the evidence of choice. I am carrying less baggage than I had packed away. I am more than the reality of my experience and less than the fiction of my guilt. I served because a lineage of service that seemed less constrictive than standing in a pulpit. To be an American is to have the privilege of doing as much or as little as I choose to survive. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. So this next poem that I'm going to read, I think I wrote for the second time that we did the music and words performance, which is a week-long workshop that we do where veterans and service members get to sit down with some very, very talented poets and songwriters and put together a collaborative piece and then perform it, which is a really amazing process that all happens in the short span of 4 days. And this piece is from that. It's called Gunfight in a Museum. Look through the glass eyes into the past. There's a placard marked Musketball versus Arrowhead, War of 1812. Stare at the scabbard. Intricately etched blood grooves shined and polished just below where the cannonball shattered the hilt and the hand. Displayed is no hand. No record of a wedding band. No calluses of building a home from earth. No shadow of hands placed inside his prior to detachment. A German Ruger displayed at waist level. Look down at it. We won because it is lesser, because they were lesser, the glass table says. There's helos suspended in air and time and fresh paint on calm mannequins. It mutes the bullet holes in fear. Its guns show no ammo, no targets, no rice paddies or huts. My, how its barrel shines. There's Cold War displays, pictures of bombs and silos like cornfields, no pictures of people starving while hammered and sickled or their enemies, US, us, who fought for our own rights while our governments drew lines against each other. City streets riot against lines drawn in ignorance. My war shows no trophy, no regalia or painted weapons, mass destructive or otherwise. For the GWAT, it just shows twisted metal beams of a trade tower's past and a flag from the Pentagon that wouldn't fall. When they put our firefights in the museum, don't pour the sand from the cloth or patch the holes in the trucks. Leave the severed hands attached to the steering wheels so the world can see we don't control where we are going. When you stare through the glass at that flag, don't forget who we are. Thank you. So the next thing that we have coming up for everybody is going to be a video. This video is like a remix collaboration of all the pieces that were written at this workshop. Something I would like everybody to kind of try before we get this started is to put yourself mentally, if you got to close your eyes or imagine that you are going to speak to somebody with a lot of experience, somebody that you respect, or somebody that you would be willing to listen to their stories. That was kind of the prompt that we were given. And then what would that person say to you? So kind of keep that in mind, put yourself in that mental space as we share this next part. Thanks again, everybody, for showing up. To all the veterans, happy Veterans Day. And thanks for letting us be a part of your evening. You are not alone.
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 You are strong.
If you looked, you would see yourself as Atlas was, the world on your shoulders.
If you looked, you would see loving yourself does not mean loving someone else less.
If you looked, you would see what you see.
A being who has survived many hidden wars.
If you looked, you would see that we've come so much further than you ever thought possible.
If you look, you would see me, unashamed to feel, ready to accept what lies ahead, challenged, and against all fucking odds, still fucking standing.
I am more than a military sexual trauma.
I'm more than a soldier.
I am more than a D-214, a bumper sticker, and a quota.
I'm more than a veteran.
I am more than a veteran, a graduate, a gender, or sexuality.
I am more than my ambiguously brown skin and the heft of my body shifting around the world.
I am more than you expected.
I am a person who can change, evolve, heal, and have something incredibly important to say.
Oh, fucking survivor.
I served because of lineage of service.
I served because I wanted to do something great after high school.
I served because I believed.
I served because I believed in something more than myself.
I served because I needed to prove to myself that I could, because they told me that I wouldn't make it.
I served because I am a protector and I always will be.
I served because I wanted to. I loved to.
I served because being a soldier is all I ever wanted to be.
I served because my life is full of lessons that I couldn't have learned any other way.
I am carrying too much.
I am carrying my scars as prize medals.
I am carrying less of my own pain and more for others.
I am carrying less baggage than I had packed away.
I'm carrying this weight with you.
I am carrying love like a field ration.
If you listen,
You will hear the growth that's overcome the grief.
The calm in my voice as I tell you that you deserve empathy and compassion.
If you listened, you would hear what you hear.
You would hear that silence has some of the best advice.
If you listened, you would hear how I fill my cup.
You would hear the good that came from the bad.
the evidence of choice.
If you listened, you would hear all the people cheering you on.
I am a United States Air Force veteran.
To be an American means to not have to hide in who I think I am.
I'm an Army infantry veteran.
To be an American means too many things to describe.
I'm a United States Marine veteran.
I am a United States Navy veteran.
To be an American means I have a chance to be anything.
I'm a United States Army veteran.
To be an American means feeling the mosaic of history shifting in my blood and bones.
Being American means being someone others can rely on.
To be an American means having the freedom to make choices about my body.
I am an Army veteran.
I am an Army veteran.
I am an Army veteran whose country can't decide if I'm worth equality.
To be an American means, well, I really don't know. I'm still working on surviving.
You are not alone.
Okay, that was the group poem. I think it was a lot of powerful components to that, summed up into a massive roar with the combination of all the voices. It was just it was a very bittersweet way to end this. I want to say a big thank you to everyone that came out to watch this, to participate. The C and CBAW's community, the community that surrounds these artists, the community that is these artists, the community that is the greater community at large. A big part of what they do involves the digital bridge. The fact that we can all be sitting in different places and all be participating in this thing right now together. That's the same technology that they were able to use during the workshop. The individuals could be at their own homes or own apartments or at a library and could participate in the prompts, could participate in the workshop, could participate in the learning. And so I'm honored that we were all able to do this together along with that digital bridge. One big announcement that we have is there's an anonymous donor right now. That anonymous donor has decided to match any funds that are donated to CBAW between now and Giving Tuesday, which is the 2nd of December, up to $10,000. So we want you to please share with others. I want you to please dig deep into your own pocketbooks to look to help to donate to the organization to help to facilitate these workshops and facilitate the fine work that's being done. At this time, what we're going to do is we're going to move forward to a question and answer session. That question and answer session is going to be led by the fantastic Miss Seema Reza.
That was amazing. Thank you all for being here, to our incredible poets tonight. Thank you for your work and the things you said, and even the guff giving. You know, that's the love language of CBAW, is giving guff. To those of you who were here tonight for the first time at one of our events, welcome. We hope you'll join us a lot. And I see a lot of our regular community members here. When COVID-19 hit, we opened up all of our workshops to everyone. So regardless of military affiliation. And we always, a big part of our program was meeting folks in these like really small environments within treatment programs in the military hospitals, or sometimes co-treatments with an individual clinician, and then connecting them to open sessions that were still broadly military on post at the USOs. And then there were these open sessions that were a really big part of helping folks discover the Venn diagram of grief, right? Oftentimes you feel like the things that are the most difficult that you're experiencing, we heard a lot of folks say that, are just yours. There's a sort of toxic positivity that's required of us sometimes in the world. But to be in a space where you can roll up your sleeves and say, yeah, this is hard. And yeah, I'm going to show up with what's hard and also with what's beautiful, is absolutely necessary. And it's our community that makes that possible. So please join us. A link will be put in the chat. Join us for our open sessions. Our community makes it work. The people who do the most dangerous jobs in our society should not have to bear the burden alone. We have a responsibility to not only hear these difficult stories, but also to share our own, right? To get off the Instagram version of ourselves and be like, yo, yeah, this is hard. Living is hard. It's not you that's weird, it's us. It's life that's weird. So please join us and share your story. It's so, so, so essential. We do have time for a Q&A, so please do put your questions. You can either message them to me or you can put them in the chat if you have them. I want to also remember to thank Amelia Bain, who did all of the editing. She's just like a genius at this stuff. She just like put it together for us, all of the things that you saw. And I did see somebody had a question about whether the videos will be available, and this entire performance will be available, and we'll put that out online. So if you're following us on social media or following our blog or on our newsletter, you'll get that. And you can also feel free to message me directly. and Amanda Bain, who is the logistics of the team. Amanda Kelly. I saw Amelia laughing and I was like, oh, I'm not being funny. Amanda Kelly, who is running all the spotlighting, I want to thank her as well. And so if we could just have all of these beautiful people pinned here, that would be amazing, including my pal Willie Young, who did an amazing job as an MC. Thank you, Willie. Came through, always a hero, always just so good. All right, does anybody have any questions? If you want to drop it in the chat. I'm just gonna go to the, this is a great question, Kevin. How can our veteran community connect with disenfranchised youth who are also feeling isolated, confused, and hopeless? That's a fantastic, fantastic question. And I know that, that a couple of the veterans who performed this evening or who we saw this evening are working in that space. Particularly Griff is working with kids. Do you wanna, Griff, are you up for taking that question? Maybe talking about what that's like?
When I do work with kids, honestly, I don't do a lot of writing with them. I work with a lot of young men and boys, and it's like a Big Brother program almost. What I found is going back to older things, carpentry, woodworking, teaching them how to make. Guys are so caught up in thinking we're the destroyers of the world that we forget that we can create some of those beautiful things in the world. And sometimes that starts with just teaching a kid how to tighten his own doorknob or fix a light or something small, make a table, a chair, a stool, and then they really open up because you've not only just done something for them that has connected them back to reality, because we're so disconnected by phone and internet now that to be able to actually create something and hold that something in your hands when you're done almost blows their minds every time. That's all I got. I mean, that's my opinion anyway. I'm still unmuted, so I'm just going to keep
Thanks, Griff.
keep going.
Yeah, if you got more to say.
No, I really don't.
Yeah, I'm really, this was a great question from Julie about a few folks talked about the value of writing versus talking. Does anybody want to talk about that? I know, Lupita, you had mentioned that yourself. Or Valerie? Yeah, please.
I think for me, I've been in therapy for about 15 years out of my 18-year career, a lot of it individual therapy. And when I started writing, the thing that was different was that I don't have to please anyone when I'm writing. I always had this feeling when I'm talking to my counselor or social worker or psychiatrist that, and I don't know why, that I had to present myself in a respectable way, because here I am, the service member in my uniform at this appointment, and I should still represent, right? Because it says U.S. Air Force, and I still have all these preconceived notions of how I should act and what I should say and how I should be. But when I started writing with Seema, I found that I can write whatever I want in my paper, and then I can choose whether I want to share it or not. And so much more truth came out of my body in paper than I ever did in conversation with my psychiatrist, that it really, really became a catharsis. I don't think I ever had that feeling just from talking.
Yeah, thanks, Griff. Oh, and Alexis. Alexis, you want to go ahead? Okay, Griff.
I guess pointed up, that means it's my turn. But I definitely can relate to that you get to be genuinely yourself when you write. And you can also kind of create your own world or your own type of identity in the pages that you can't necessarily do in front of a therapist. I do see the value of having a therapist because it can help you work through things, but there are just some things you don't want to tell a therapist, or some things that are too difficult, or they don't understand, and it's difficult to unpack. And it's also annoying to have to unpack to multiple different individuals because therapists, they don't stay. In the Army, they move around, and I'm being re-traumatized having to tell the next person what I already told the last person, but I don't have to go through that drama on paper.
Thank you. Griff, and then Lupita had something to add.
Go ahead, Lupita.
Oh, okay. I think for me, it was a lot easier because I carried a lot of shame. I had a lot of shame, and I felt like if I talked about it, then that's all anybody would see, was this shame and guilt and fear that I carried with me every single day. And some days my feelings were so overwhelming and there were so many of them that I didn't even know how to pinpoint them. And so writing kind of helped me navigate through all of those emotions in order to help me communicate that to my therapist. And it kind of opened that line of communication that wasn't there before because I avoided talking about it for a very long time. I didn't want anybody to see me as this weak person. And writing helped me navigate through all of that.
Thanks. Yeah, you have to sort of get ready, like practice it on the page. Griff, did you have something to add?
All I was going to say is everything I've ever written, I hate. I mean, I absolutely despise it. Seem has heard me say it over and over again. That journal will be burned someday, and yet I keep holding on to it. So I don't know. I guess that's how I processed it.
Yeah, no, I mean, we write hard things and sometimes we don't like it. Kim had something to add as well.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for your question. But for me, like, therapy is always can you hear me? Okay. All right. Therapy is like so direct. They want you to talk about like the worst things in your life, or like say you do EMDR or something like that. They just want to like hit on like very traumatic things, whereas writing, like you're given a prompt and like what's actually coming up in you is going to come on the paper. So you don't have to directly address like a traumatic event. Like no one's ever told me like write out my traumatic event, like start to finish in a writing group. Like no matter like the facilitator, they're always just like, let's write to this poem, or let's write to this line, or the amazing comedy ones, let's write to this thought that you clean your house and then destroy it every day. So, but it's like, it's just, you get to play with like emotions that you might not always be able to express, but they're in you and they just come up through like other poetry and like listening to whatever poem is that day and then writing to that prompt.
Thanks for that. Did anybody else, any of our other panelists have an answer or want to add something before we move on? We have a really great question from an active duty service member asking, how do we encourage service members to seek out these types of programs? And what are ways that we can destigmatize service members seeking treatment for mental health? I mean, I think most of the people I've met in these programs have been forced to come to writing. I think that was like a common theme. So maybe what might have made you take a chance on something this weird, or this like that felt so outside of the expected, either when you were active duty or before you were ready to do this? Anybody want to?
Yeah, so one of the things I like to go back to when asked this, or this conversation comes up about how do I, like, I'm not a writer or I'm not an artist, question or line of thinking, is that these workshops and most creative forms of expression are learning new tools to communicate, which everybody in the military that's been through boot camp has already kind of had hammered into their head. You know, look, you know, you got to communicate, movement, suppressive fire, all those like general, very basic boot camp strategies are already kind of in our heads. And this is just another way of learning how to communicate our experiences for ourselves and as a way of connecting with other people. When I first got back from Afghanistan, my uncle and my dad and a bunch of family members who had all served kind of huddling around me one night. And they're like, hey, if you ever want to talk about anything, you know, let us know. We're here for you. And I could never bring myself to like, how do I start this conversation? How do I say that, you know, the hardest day of my life happened over there? And then be like, oh, you know, and can you also like grab me a pack of cigarettes from the store, or, like pass the mashed potatoes or whatever it was. But through writing and art making, you and some of the other people said it in the last question, you get to choose what your level of exposure is, and you can mask it in as much symbolism and metaphor as you want. And then you get to choose how to explain that and who you want to explain it to. So for people that are active duty, I think it really comes down to, do you want to learn another way of communicating what you've been through and be around other people that are going through the same process? And if they do, then there's places, there's resources, there's tons of resources out there, and just plug them into them. That's all I got.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I think there's also one of the things that makes the programs in the hospitals work is that they're not people who are serving together in one place, right? It's like you're meeting new people who have been through similar things, but who you're not going to go back to work with. And I wonder how open you'd be able to be if you were going to also have to go to work the next morning with those same people. And if that's an opportunity to really like harness the power of the internet, right? Where we can bring virtual groups of people who aren't going to have to work together tomorrow into a space to do this work. I don't know. It's something definitely worth thinking about. Does anybody else have a response to that? An idea? Lupita and Val.
I think for me, it was, well, one, I was forced to join your group. But it was once I found out all the different therapies there were, and they weren't even really therapies. They were just like, hey, we're doing some art today. There's a writing group today. And it was just nice knowing that that option was out there, because when I was active duty, I remember there being times when I would go to my leader and I would say, can I talk to you about something? And they would brush it off or say, I'm busy, make it quick, you know, and it was just a constant like brush off. And then eventually I just figured, why bother? But with writing, I wrote it all out. So I think just making people aware too, that these are options if they don't feel comfortable speaking.
Val?
For me, well, I'm still active duty and I still have a lot of troops that I supervise. And one of the things that I started doing when we begin the rating period for the year is I hand them, along with their feedback form for the rating period, I give them a blank journal. And I say, one of the things I encourage as a supervisor is keeping a gratitude journal. And I do it every day. And I take mine out of my cargo pocket and I show it to them. And I say, and I would really be proud of you if you practice this or if you gave it a chance. And I'm also honest to the point where I don't lose my credibility. Like, I don't go around my office and say, I got arrested for an alcohol-related incident, and that's how I ended up meeting Seema. Like, I don't bring my whole truth to work every day because I don't need to do that. Vulnerability is not disclosure, people. But I am also honest to, hey, I have struggled with a lot of things. I didn't get to this rank and this year without a bunch of scrapes, and this is what I do to help myself along the way. So I'm honest in that. I don't tell my whole life story, but I do it with my subordinates, and some of my subordinates have done it with their subordinates. I take my office, we have about 22 people that I supervise, and I stop once a week. Everybody gets off their computer, and we go around the room, and whoever wants to share gratitude, they share it out loud. A lot of people don't, a lot of people stay quiet, but I have fostered an environment in which it is okay to be emotional at work. So that's how I do it.
It's beautiful, Griff.
I actually kind of hesitated adding my 2 cents into this. So when I was going through, I retired in 2014. And when I was going through SEMA's workshops and basically being medically retired from the military all at the same time, I had my chain of command. My first sergeant, my platoon sergeant, even my squad leader all brought me into a room. And for a good 25 minutes, scream, yell, call me a malingerer, names, everything, because I was seeking help. So that stigma is not going away anytime soon. And I feel like I'm being negative when I say that, but being in the infantry, I don't know about the other MOSs. I really don't. But what I do know is that we're driven to be ruthless and hard and all of these things that do not sync up with a place where a stigma isn't going to be. I feel like I tripped over my words there for a second, but I don't see it going away because the infantry guys need to be that way. But there needs to be an openness in somebody in their chain of command. Because I will never forget the day I had served very honorably. I deployed, and every time I deployed, I tried to excel on the battlefield. I was always very proud of my service, and on that day, I can still remember my first sergeant in my face asking if I wanted to hit him after he'd been yelling at me for 30 minutes. On that day, I was ashamed of myself and what I'd been doing because I was those guys. That's what I was going to turn into. So as much as I want to say that the stigma will be gone and everybody's going to open up and be happy, I'm afraid that it's going to be the hardest thing in the world to ever get rid of. So.
Yeah, appreciate that. Kim?
Yeah. So I was a commander for a few years, and I just want to talk on Griff's point because I think if you have weak leadership, you're gonna have experiences like that. But when I sought help, I was an aide to a 2-star general, and I'll tell you, everyone in that office, because I was working at the Pentagon, they were just like, "Okay, Kim, that's fine. Like, let's get you the help you need." And like, they were very strong leaders, secure in themselves. They were more concerned about the person rather than the uniform. And granted, they didn't want to lose me, but they were strong leaders. And I think if you have weak and fearful leaders, you'll have experiences like Griff did. But once you find those leaders that will have your back, and like a lot of the first like times that like I felt like I could be open was in an IOP group with like a bunch of enlisted soldiers, which if you're familiar with the veteran or the military culture, an officer opening up about feelings to enlisted doesn't really happen. But once you find those groups, like you can be vulnerable and real, and like the opinions of those people are more important than an opinion of a first sergeant screaming in your face about like you being a malingerer. Like in the heart of hearts, you know what it is. And I'm a full-fledged believer that a lot of that stigma and like the fear of making that call to mental health is within your head, because like a lot of us have adverse childhoods, and I guarantee you most of us didn't grow up saying like, how did you feel about that? Like our parents probably didn't do that. And so like making that call to say like, my feelings are not right now is going to be very hard. And a lot of it's just going to be reiterated of what you were taught in your childhood. So it does take a lot of bravery, and there are a lot of bad leaders out there that are going to do a lot of harmful things. But at the same time, there's a lot of good leaders that are going to, if you go up to them and say you need help, like they're going to help you through it. And please like trust your leaders, and avoid the ones like Griff had, and just like, if they ask you what's going on, just like have an appointment and go to behavioral health. But please don't let that be the hurdle, because we want everyone alive.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kim. We want everyone alive. I think there is something too about like, oftentimes somebody who is holding it together really tight is really mad when somebody else opens up. And over, these many years, I've met folks who have done that kind of thing, like Griff explained, in a position of leadership. And it's part of what then they have to reckon with on the page. Like, oh, I didn't allow someone space for that. But I think there's that. And I think like Kim, to your point, like emotional literacy is not something that's taught to any of us as kids, right? Like very, very few people have the parents they deserve, which is to say perfect parents, which of course there are no perfect parents, and we all have shit to figure out. And there is, right, like there is this sense of like, I should know this by now. And when you can find someone that you can honestly say like, yo, I have no idea, this is something that's not right, you can start to take those steps. Does anybody else want to respond to that?
I just want to add one more thing. So I think a lot of times leaders are afraid because they don't know how to show empathy. I was confused at some point myself as to what empathy meant, right? Like, for example, I had a subordinate who had a miscarriage, and I had never had a miscarriage. So I didn't know how to show empathy to her. And then somebody else that is very knowledgeable in that subject told me, well, you don't need to know what it feels like to have a miscarriage. You just need to know what loss feels like, what grief feels like. And I've lost things and I've grieved for things. And when I started understanding how I could show those things to the people around me at work, even if I hadn't had the same experiences, then it became a lot easier for me to say, oh, it's okay to feel that way when you go through that. And I do it with my kids now too. Like my 6-year-old thinks the world is going to end if he doesn't get the last Pokemon card that came out. And I'm just like, I could give a about Pokemon, right? But like, I understand now what it feels to have something dominate your life that you think you're not going to survive without it. So I think when leaders are scared of allowing other people to feel like that, is because maybe they don't know how to handle what's going to come back at them, and they don't know how to show that empathy.
Oh, that's such a great point.
Don't know if that helps.
I think it does. Yeah, the fear of feeling is so much, and the fear of like not knowing what to say. So like, let's just not talk about it, right? Like, I don't know how I'm going to respond to that, and so let's not talk about it. Do we have any other questions? We have time for another question if you'd like to share it. We also have writing workshops 4 days a week. Some of them are for healthcare providers specifically, some are for veterans. We have a new series in partnership with Blue Star Families for military spouses and caregivers that we're very excited about. But the best thing in the world is our open sessions where everyone comes together and is just, it's flat. And we are just all there as people. So we hope you'll join us, and we'll put the link in the chat. There it is, as well as our post-event survey. It's there. I hope you'll join us for all of those things. I want to leave you with this little story that I experienced some weeks ago, which is that I was with a group of people, I guess more than some weeks ago, a while ago. I was with a group of people who I know okay, and one person was like, we need to introduce ourselves to each other. We need to introduce ourselves to each other. I was like, well, we kind of know each other. Why are we doing this? And she said, no, we've got to. So she stood up and she said, my name is such and such. I live in this place. And I was like, yeah, we all know those things about you. And she said, 6 months ago, my son passed away. And I'm not okay. And if you see me fall down into a heap of tears, which is something that happens to me, I need you to just come over and say, you've got this, to me. Of course, you've got this is not magic words, right? But it was, she gave us this gift. Like, this is the signal of how you can let me know that you are supporting me. And then we went around the table and everybody said what they need. And I said something in the moment that was quick. But what a world it would be if we could tell the people around us and ask the people around us for what it is they need when they're suffering. And though it may not exactly be the thing they need, it's the way for us to signal to them, hey, I see you and I want to help you and I'm here. And I want to challenge you guys, each and every one of you, to ask 3 people in your life, what supports you? What do you need when the grief comes rising up in your heart? What is it that supports you? And then give them a little time and come back and check again. If we knew this about the people around us and they knew it about us, what a different place we'd live in. Thank you all for being here tonight, for being a part of this community, maybe for a flash tonight, but I hope for a long, 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 long time. Please be with us, come right with us. We laugh a lot, we cry a lot, we are our whole selves, and it's enough, and your whole self is enough too. Thank you for being here. And huge thanks to Amelia and Amanda for running this, and for Willie Young's emceeing, and to you beautiful, beautiful, brave and strong human beings. Share your story and just keep changing the world. Be well, have a good night, stay out of trouble or don't get caught.